So you've seen the evidence. Now I want you to decide which is the worst food in our diet, excess sugar or trans fats. But before you decide, here's a recap of the evidence. First, the case against sugar being the worst food in our diet. Number 1, high sugar consumption increases the risk of developing these non-communicable diseases: heart disease, cancer, obesity, type 2 diabetes, stroke, and also tooth decay and gum disease. Number 2, sugar provides no nutrients, only empty calories, causing low levels of B vitamins, which can affect mental health, and suppresses the immune system, which can lead to illness. 3, excess sugar consumption promotes fat gain because high blood sugar keeps insulin levels high. 4, because the food industry loves sugar. Why? Because we easily become hooked and keep going back to buy more. And the case for trans fat. 1, consuming them increases your risk of developing heart disease, stroke, obesity, type 2 diabetes, cancer, and dementia. 2, trans fats increase levels of LDL cholesterol in the blood, which increases plaque in the arteries and can cause a blockage. 3, trans fats in sewers create fatbergs, which create huge environmental problems. 4, numerous countries have banned them, even the home of junk food, the United States of America. So think about and decide which is worse and give at least one reason why. I have also prepared an activity for you to help you to remember what you've learnt. Here I'm going to demonstrate to you that you can still enjoy all of the foods that you love without the bad stuff. You can still eat chicken and chips, cookies, chocolate and cake. You just need to know which ones. The most important thing is to familiarise yourself with the food label. By law, manufacturers have to tell us what's in the food that they produce and in what proportion, so you can use that information to make wiser choices. For example, all of these sugary snacks contain around 38% sugar. Isn't that a coincidence? Could that be that this is the bliss point that I mentioned earlier, which keeps you coming back and eating more? And in the supermarket, I found all of these different varieties of Oreo cookies. These cookies contain around 15% sugar, less than half. They won't spike and slump your blood sugar levels, leaving you even hungrier, like these other ones will. Can you guess what percentage of Nutella is sugar? 56.3%. However, I'm going to show you a cheaper, tastier and healthier alternative. You can use peanut butter, or you can get some hazelnut butter like Nutella, probably from the health food store. I'm going to use a mixture of peanut butter and almond butter. You can get these from any supermarket. Now, all you need to do is, I've got about 200 grams of the mixture of peanut butter and almond butter in here. Now, you're going to add 1 teaspoon, if you want it very chocolatey, add more. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of cocoa powder, not hot chocolate. I'm also going to add a teaspoon of xylitol. Now, I'm going to tell you about xylitol in a minute, but it's a natural, healthy alternative to sugar. And also, I'm going to add to that a teaspoon of honey. Now, I've just put it on the scale because I want to weigh it. I want to know how much honey I'm putting in. So I'm going to put a big teaspoon in, and if I weigh it, that's 20 grams of honey. So all you need to do is basically mix all that together. So you've got your chocolatey, quite sweet but not overly sweet, nutty spread, which is delicious on bread, toast, any way that you would use the other one we talked about. You can use this. To work out how much sugar it contains, look at the label. Now the nut butter is 5 grams of sugar per 100 grams. So I have 10 grams of sugar because I use 200. The cocoa, 0 sugar. Xylitol, 0 sugar. The honey is 76 grams of sugar per 100 grams. I use 20 grams, so that's 15.2 grams. So I've got 15.2 plus 10, that's 25.2 grams of sugar in my 200 grams of nut butter. So that is 12.6 grams per 100 grams instead of 56.3. Here are some other healthy swaps. Now the promised cake. I call this my have your cake and eat it healthy chocolate fudge cake. It's based on a recipe by one of my favourite cooks, Nigella Lawson. However, obviously I've gotten rid of the sugar. And don't worry if you can't write down the recipe, I will send it to your teachers and they can forward it to you. Ingredients: 70 grams of butter, softened, 100 millilitres of rapeseed oil, 120 grams of total sweet xylitol, which is a natural alternative to sugar made from the bark of birch trees. It contains almost 0 sugar and doesn't spike your blood sugar levels. 60 grams of blackstrap molasses. You can get these from health food stores. Molasses are very rich in iron. They also contain calcium, magnesium, potassium and vitamin B6. These are the healthy part of the sugar plant, which is discarded. 50 grams of cocoa powder, not hot chocolate, which is packed with sugar. 2 eggs, 150 ml of boiled water, 150 grams of Greek yogurt, full fat yogurt for this cake. Remember, sugar's the enemy, not fat. 280 grams of self-raising flour, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Method. First of all, heat your oven to 160 degrees for a fan oven. With an electric mixer, mix together the first 5 ingredients. So, in this bowl, I've got the butter, the oil, the molasses, the xylitol, and the cocoa powder. Add 1 egg at a time. Then, with the mixer on the lowest setting, you're going to add half of the flour, which has already been sieved. Next, we're going to add the Greek yogurt. So, that all goes in like that. Then we're going to add the boiled water. So let's start mixing the yogurt first. Then the boiled water, 150 millilitres. Now don't put on a high setting when you're adding the water because you're going to get chocolate everywhere. So once the water's in and the yogurt, we can add the rest of the flour. So once you've mixed everything, you're going to spoon your mixture into your muffin cases. Okay, so these are going to go into the oven. Now we're going to bake at 160 as I mentioned, and it should only take 15 minutes. If you're doing fairy cakes, it's going to take 10 minutes. While they're baking, I want to tell you about sweeteners. Some are natural, like xylitol, this I got from Tesco, or erythritol. This one I got from Asda. Now these are sugar alcohols. They don't raise blood glucose, and they're also very good for teeth and gums because they're antibacterial. Sometimes you find them in toothpaste or chewing gum. However, don't have too much because they can have a laxative effect. Other sweeteners are sucralose, which can raise blood glucose and can release harmful compounds when heated, so that's a no. Aspartame is a chemical used in drinks, but you can't cook with it. And sweeteners containing stevia, which is natural, however, stevia is 1,000 times sweeter than sugar. So they can only use about 1 gram in a sweetener this size. So they bulk it up with something called maltodextrin, which is a white starchy powder that is as light as snow. This weighs only 75 grams. And it can also leave a bitter aftertaste. So this you can't really use when baking. So my sweeteners of choice are xylitol and erythritol. The cakes are done. They only took 15 minutes. I tested them with a skewer or a very sharp, thin knife. And when that comes out clean, that means they're done. So now I'm going to ice them. And for the chocolate fudge icing, I've got in here 70 grams of dark chocolate. So I used just this one, which is delicious. And I've got 70 grams of mascarpone cheese. So 70 grams of chocolate, 70 grams of mascarpone, which I'm going to mix together. You can use double cream, but the mascarpone just makes it more fudgy. And I'm just going to add to that, I've got some boiled water here, 1 tablespoon of boiled water. Mix that together, doesn't take long, and then you have your chocolate fudge icing. And I'm going to put a little bit of icing on each cake. And these cakes actually taste better and they get fudgier after a couple of days. And they last up to a week, no, about 5 days, but they taste better. And so, there you have it. You have your cake and eat it, low sugar chocolate fudge cupcakes. The only sugar from this cake comes from the molasses. 36 grams of molasses. The chocolate is 19 grams, the yogurt is 4.5 grams and the mascarpone 1.5 grams. That totals 61 grams of sugar. Divide that by the number of cakes, which is 16, and that is 3.8 grams of sugar per cake. The original recipe contains 67 grams of sugar per slice.
What?
Yes. Over 2 days worth of sugar. So I hope you've enjoyed these presentations. There's a lot more information on the website www.beinghealthy.rocks, and be sure to ask your teachers to contact me if you have any questions. Stay healthy.